Hi everybody, welcome to Mechanized Corp's Rebirth. Today I'm going to go over the hangar, which is where you build all your MCs. Uh, and over on the menu, go into the hangar. As you can see, you already have some MCs here, right? So when you start, you will have four stock MCs: a Switchblade, a Viper, a Malice, and an Abolisher. These are the four core chassis and MCs that the game comes with. From there, you can also build as many as you can afford from a credit standpoint. So you earn credits by battling an instant action or multiplayer. And to build a mech, come over here and you hit the build mech button. You start with your chassis. And so you have four classes: Scout, Infantry, Heavy, and Assault. Scout class, you have Switchblade, Direhawk, and the Citadel. Infantry, you have the Viper, the Scarab, and the Prowler. Heavy, the Malice, Zero, and the Mauler. And under the Assault, we have the Abolisher, the Kronos, and the Typhoon. So I'm just going to take through a couple of different builds. So we'll start out with, we'll start out with my favorite big chunky, the Abolisher, kind of the OG Dark Horizons Assault chassis. Um, Very tough, can carry a lot of weapons. Out of the three, Assault is probably the more balanced chassis. The Kronos is a little bit smaller, but the Typhoon is the new big chunky. If you want a lot of armor, the Typhoon has a good bit more than the Abolisher. Um, but I like the Abolisher, so we're going to stick with the Abolisher. So I'm just going to go down the line, right? So we'll start with weapons. So I like lasers, so we're going to add a fusion cannon. So the fusion cannon is a plasma laser. Um, it's powered by a little mini nuke, and it not only does it do damage, it does a damage over time, where it'll add heat to the other mech that you targeted. But pair that with a brimstone, which is your big beam laser. And then on the other side, on the top, I think that we'll go with. Let's go with a kind of a nice missile. So we'll go with the Guardian uh, line of sight missile, and then let's go with a little rocket pod. Let's have some more uh, homing capabilities. So got a K-12, and then we have room for two more. We have enough battle points. We should be able to put a couple more weapons on here. So let's put on a couple of Gatling guns. These are always great for those close in engagements. Do quite a bit of damage, but they are a little range limited. So what you have here is two long range with your lasers, your missiles, which have decent mid range, but they also are locking. And then you have your GATs, which are obviously not locking. They're high rate of fire, and they can really chew an appointment up close. And they're relatively accurate, not uber accurate, relatively accurate. So let's look at our equipment. So right now we have the default engine. I want the engine that has a little bit more heat management capacity. So if you look at the engines, you have the Magnum XL 350, which provides more energy and a better recharge rate, but it doesn't have as much power, and the power is really kind of like horsepower, right? So you're not going to go as fast. I don't care about going really fast in this mech, so I'm going to select that one. The Omni, which is the default, is kind of your average. It's an average between that and then the RR300, um, between which is between the Magna and the RR. But we'll go or the Omni. So we'll go with the Magna on this. Not gonna put jump jets on this. We're gonna save the battle points for some other equipment. Am going to put countermeasures on because you need countermeasures. There's a lot of missiles in this game, so if you don't have countermeasures, you're in trouble. The next thing we're going to look at is internals. So we have about, if you look in the lower left-hand corner, uh, you have a maximum battle value you can put on a chassis. The maximum for the Abolisher is 1210. We're at 1160, so we have a little bit more capacity. The other things you can see down here while we're down here is the max speed. So the default with absolutely no equipment or weapons put on here is 90 uh, kilometers per hour. As configured, it's 57. That's fine. This is not a fast mech. So let's look at what we want to do. Because I have the fusion cannon and the brimstone, both of those create quite a bit of heat and overload. So we are going to do a coolant flush. It's very cheap. It's only one use though. So make sure you keep it for when you need it. And I think we will go ahead and do an energy shield, which is going to basically put an energy bubble around your mech to absorb damage. Uh, this one is reusable, but it has to recharge after it's used the first time. So let's go ahead and put the rest of our points into armor. So now we put an extra 50 armor points, which are basically HP health points for your mech. So we got that, and now let's make it pretty. Well, pretty for me, right? Doesn't have to be pretty for everybody. And actually, it's probably not going to be extremely pretty because I like weird colors. I like this orange. It reminds me of the Dodge orange that you can see on the Daytonas and the Dodge Daytonas and the Challengers. What are we gonna mix that with? Mix it with red. No, let's do a custom color here. So let's mix it with like an off yellow, kind of like that. A little brighter. No, there we go. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that looks good. Let's do that. We got that. You want a nose? You want a nose scheme on here? That's kind of funky. You can do that one. Oh, I like these teeth. Let's do that. And then these are just unit logos. We'll be adding some in the future. We may even have it to where players can add their own. I'm going to do this here. Great. It's all colored. Now let's go weapons grouping. It does some automatic weapons grouping based on where they're mounted. This does not work great unless you're mounting the exact same weapons in the exact same place. So we're going to go ahead and clear this out. I will leave group 5 as kind of my, not kind of, it's my alpha strike. What you will see is each group will have a heat rating. So if you look at group 5 down here, the heat rating is off the chart. So I will overheat if I fire this, right? So when you overheat, you can't fire anything. Your MC is going to go very slow. My engine capacity is down here. So as you can see, the heat capacity, heat that's going to come out of this group is well beyond the capacity of the engine. So what I'm going to put together here is the brimstone and the fusion cannon. I'm going to fire those together. It's going to produce quite a bit of heat, but not enough to overload me. I'm going to put my 2 Gatling guns in together, and I'm going to actually put my K-12 by itself and my Guardian by itself. That way I don't have to fire 2 locking things at the same time. The K-12 is going to be a little bit better up close, but the Guardian is going to be better at a longer range. I would say also in the Guardian, it is a line of sight lock, so you have to keep line of sight on the MC that you're targeting. So just make sure you do that. It is not a fire and forget heat-seeking projectile. The K-12 though is heat-seeking projectile. So once you fire that, you don't have to keep looking. Just looking around the rest of the hangar, you also do have an inventory. This really only comes into play if you sell one of your chassis to get credits back on it. If you sell the chassis, you do not have to sell all the weapons. The weapons will go into your inventory here. I don't have any inventory right now, so we'll close that. So I have this all set up, so we can hit build. Give it a name. I can like to name it, similar to what it would look like if it was a stock mech. So ABL for Abolisher, and then I'll call this like BFG3 because I already have two configs that are almost exactly like this. But I did this one for demonstration, and I will save this out. And now you will see it is down here. Now, here's the trick. It is down here. So you can see these two are exactly the same, just different colors. In slot 1 is the only place you're going to put an assault chassis. Right now I have BFG1 up here, which is actually a little bit different. It has a K20 fire and forget rocket pack on here. These are not seeking, so you have to be kind of close for the K20s. So let's replace that with BFG3. And you'll notice when I start to drag it up here, you have 3 invalid slots. From a balancing standpoint, we don't want a person being able to take 4 assaults, for example. So when it says active squad up here, when you go into a battle, these will be the mechs or the chassis that you spawn with, and only these. None of these down here will be available. You also, in slot 2, can put an assault or a heavy chassis in. I think we have a malice in it. No, we don't have a malice in there. It's a mauler. And a viper we have here, and then a direhawk. This direhawk is pretty cool. So let's actually show you a different config now. So let's build a different mech. We're going to build a direhawk, and I said mech. We call them MCs now. So let's build out a direhawk. So if you look at these 3 scouts, they all have a little bit different stats. So look down in the lower left-hand corner. The switchblade, max speed of 129 with armor of 750. Your direhawk though has a base speed of 144, but you're giving up armor, right? It's lighter. And then the Citadel is very similar to the switchblade. So those guys have the same max speeds. The direhawk is going to be your fastest MC by far. So this is a great one to use as a scout or a sniper. So let's set one of these up. This also only has 4 weapons mounts. So actually, let's cancel this real quick. We'll go back in here. Let's just look at if we were going to do a switchblade, and you look at the weapons, it has 5. It's also going to have an underneath weapons mount. We'll go back to the chassis. I don't know why I exited out of that before. Go back to the direhawk. Let's actually do the equipment here first, because this is going to be my scout slash longer mid to long range sniper. So we're going to put a jump jet on here. We're going to put countermeasures on here. We want the fastest engine, which is going to be the Omni 100. So I'm going to go faster with this engine than any other engine. We are going to add additional engines here in the future, but right now these are the 3 that we have. Then let's look into internals. We're going to do weapons last because honestly, on this particular MC, the weapons are not as important as what other things it can do. So we are going to add a cloaking device, and then we are also going to add a targeting laser. I would add the orbital strike. We are going to be changing this. It's one use only, but we're going to add a power uptime to this as well, which we haven't added yet. The targeting laser is basically going to paint a target on anything that the direhawk wants to the rest of the group to see. So we're going to add that as well. So let's go back to the weapons. Yeah, we only have about 495 out of 670 from our battle value so far. which is good. So we can add some decent weapons here. So I'm going to actually add some bigger uh, weapons up top here. We're going to add a couple of Arc 80s. Now, they're a little bit big for this MC, but they are pretty powerful. And those are the only two weapons that we're going to carry on here. I'm going to go back to the internal screen. And now that I know how much BV I have left, I'm going to crank that up to 670, added a little bit more armor on it, didn't make it a little bit slower, but still, this is going to be the fastest MC on the map by far. Your only trick with this MC is the arcs do have an ammo limit, right? So the only thing that you could do outside of this, go back to weapons, we could look at putting on a Hellfire. It's just not going to do as much damage as quick, and it's much more visible, so people are going to see where you are. Or we could put maybe 4 plat DK 25s on here as well. Those actually would do pretty well, but those are going to be much more medium range weapons, and I'm wanting a longer range ballistic weapon, so that's why I chose those. So we're going to build this, and again, I have one of these already, but let's not build it yet. I didn't paint it. This I want to be able to hide, so let's just kind of put a little, green and tan camo on here, which will be good for maps with forest or stuff like that on it. We can make as many of these as we want. If it was just going into like a volcano layer level, or if we were going to take this maybe into like a desert level or to the no man's land, which is much more dirt focused, we may actually paint it different color. But we'll keep this as kind of a halfway in between. Let's build this Firehawk SMP2 because I have an SMP1. Save it, and you will see it down here now. So I have one here already, which actually has different weapons on it. Oh, it only has Arc 50s on it. That's fine. I like the Arc 80s better for this build. Actually, let's see something. So yeah, so the Arc 50s on here, you can see you actually pick up 7 kilometers per hour. But like I said, 122 kilometers per hour is going to be plenty fast enough. But that's where we're at. That's how we build our MCs. Again, just to go over quickly, to set up an active squad, which means when you go into an instant action or a multiplayer game, these are the MCs that you're going to have available to you. You would drag, and we'll just drag this one up here to slot 4. You could take 4 infantry or 4 scout class MCs with you. You could take 2 heavies and 2 infantry, but you can only have 1 assault. That's the biggest limiter. The assaults are just really, really big, really chunky, and we want to make sure that when you guys are playing, that it's relatively balanced. But I hope that was a great video for you guys. If you have questions, please leave it to us in the forums or join our Discord. And we look forward to seeing everybody in game. Thank you.